Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the European Soccer Show. Tess welcomes you, and as does welcomes Leo. Hello, Leo.
Hey Daniel, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you? It's been a hectic old week for you, like insane amount of stuff happening in Ligue 1, and
Yeah,
you've been filming a really interesting program today in Paris.
it was an interesting week in Ligue 1 with two match days. It's the only time this season, I think, that there will be a match day during a week. So it was kind
Mm.
of it was not an empty week, at least.
Yeah, it's been strange, isn't it? Because obviously in England we had the League Cup
Yeah,
action. In Spain there was the Copa del Rey, but in France and Italy, two match days, and
yeah.
oh my goodness, what fun we had! And with that, we are going to start with Serie A. So Serie A, going over to Italia. I'm going to give you some midweek results. We'll have a quick look at that and then move on to the weekend just gone. So on Tuesday, Napoli managed to beat Lecce away 1-0. Atalanta drew again at home against AC Milan 1-1. So, some good draws, some bad draws. And on Wednesday, oh, this is fun. So Como beat Hellas Verona 3-1 to continue their good form. Juventus, now they are without Igor Tudor. They have won 3-1 against Udinese. Roma beat Parma 2-1. 0-0 between Bologna and Torino, but Torino just gently moving away from that relegation zone. Cremonese, another return to form, 2-0 at Genoa. And Inter won 3-0 at home to Fiorentina, but then everybody beats Fiorentina at the minute. And then on Thursday, Sassuolo beat Cagliari 2-1 away. And the finale of all Italian football midweek, Pisa 0, Lazio 0. Oh, but then this weekend, my goodness, on Saturday, Atalanta, the undefeated run is over. It is finished. They lost away at Udinese, 1-0 to Udinese. Napoli and Como played out a 0-0 draw. Both teams, again, following up decent wins with confusing draws. Juventus actually had a pretty good win at Cremonese as well, 2-1 to Juve, so 2 wins in two match days. On Sunday, Inter beat Hellas Verona 2-1. Fiorentina lost at home against relegation rivals Lecce. Things are going bad. Torino 2, Pisa 2. Parma lost at home 3-1 against Bologna. And AC Milan beat Roma 1-0 in the most recent game. We have two matches tonight. So they'll happen after this has gone out. Sassuolo, Genoa, and Lazio, Cagliari. I suppose where to start, considering two match days, it's probably best to look at the two teams that have won both of the games, so Inter and Juventus. But despite that, Napoli is still top of the table. So Napoli just doing enough with their victories. So a 1-0 at Lecce and a 0-0 at home to Como. The goals have started to dry up for Napoli, but at least their defense is on point.
Yeah, we can say that it's a thrilling battle at the top of the league because, if I'm not mistaken, we have four teams separated just by 1 point. So it's pretty interesting to watch, with especially since AC Milan beat Roma yesterday with a goal from Pavlovic. Como draw to Napoli, so it's a good result for Como, but not that good for Napoli, considering they just have 1 point. They are just 1 point in advance from Inter, Roma, and Milan, or
Yeah,
Milan
that
and
is
Roma.
correct.
So
So just jumping in, I'll give you the lead. So Napoli have 22 points, are on top, and then you've got Inter, AC Milan, and Roma all on 21.
okay, and we can say that even if we talk about the other teams like Juventus, who hired Luciano Spalletti this week, and he won his first game with Juve, we have a big front like team. So it's interesting, and it's good for the competition of the league.
Do you think Spalletti is the right person to lead Juventus, considering his? Well, I mean, you think about his Napoli was so popular and so impressive, but he couldn't repeat it in charge of Italy. And Juve, obviously, classically a lot more defensive than attacking or progressive.
Yeah,
Do you think it's a good fit with Juventus?
the thing I know is that the way he joined Juventus have been quite criticized by Napoli's fan, because when he left Napoli, he said that he was not going to train another Italian team. And then 1 year later, because we have to recall that he took charge of the national team, Italia's national team, between Napoli and Juve. But yeah, I think he's a good team, a good manager for a Serie A team. He knows how to win, which is important. And
well, that's the thing. So sorry to interrupt, but like I think that's why I'm
no,
asking, because unlike Antonio Conte, who has won, what is it, 4, 5 Serie A titles with
yeah, he won
three
with,
separent teams.
yeah,
But is he the first manager or second? Actually, no, he's the second manager to win with 3 separate sides. Although that is also including, I think it's Capello, but one of his titles was cancelled, as was I think one of Allegri's. Because obviously with the whole Juventus scandals,
yeah,
many Juventus scandals over several periods.
one of them.
One of them. So hence why I was asking, like, do you think Spalletti, because it's not quite the same level as, say, Allegri or Conte, who have had success after success, and in Conte's case, over several teams, whereas Spalletti had one good season with Napoli, and then obviously Italy didn't work out. So I don't know. I suppose the question is, do you still have credit in the bank? Like, how much? What is the level of expectation with Spalletti?
I think that the thing with Juve is that during the last past months or years, they tried some things with coaches. Massimiliano Allegri was criticized for like producing almost nothing with his squad. Then they got Thiago Motta. Then they got Igor Tudor. So different styles of manager. So now they have another style with Spalletti. But the thing is that when Tudor and Motta took charge on Juventus, their experience in Serie A was quite little,
Limited,
because
right?
limited, because Thiago Motta only trained Bologna. Igor Tudor had was it Elas not
Is it
was it
Parma?
maybe, but he had a limited experience. Even if he took then charge of Marseille, had a good season with them, even if we can say some bad things about it. But I think Spalletti, his experience, his palmarès talk for himself.
And also, I suppose he has the personality for a club like Juventus
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well, which is no small thing with such big clubs.
I don't know if you saw, he just during an inside on Juve's social network, he was presented to a player. I don't remember who, and the player said, "Oh, I hope it will be good with you." And he said, "It depends only on you."
Yeah, it's all the pressure's on you.
So
No,
yeah,
that's very funny. Okay, so what's quite interesting, because you were saying before about how there's only 1 point between the top 4, which is fascinating. A couple of things to note then from the actual league table in Serie A. Number one being that there's a 3-point gap between 4th and 5th, so it does seem like there's now the champions. The contest for the actual title and
yeah,
the Champions League spots. And then there does seem to be the group below, which is all the more important why Juventus won both their matches, because they're still 3 points behind Roma. But had they not won both, then suddenly there's a big gap being created. And yeah, difficult stuff. The other thing to consider is, of course, I'm not sure if you heard this, but was it last year, Serie A? Do you remember the playoffs for the titles?
between Napoli and
Just
Inter.
generally, so no,
Yeah.
it used to be that in Serie A, if 2 teams finished on the same points in first and second, they would then
Oh,
play off
yeah,
or have an extra match, so like a playoff
yeah.
final, and whoever finished above on goal difference, whatever, would get home advantage. That hasn't come to pass yet. Obviously, I think it only came in last year or this year. But the fact is, there are 4 teams, only one separated by 1 point. The mind starts to sort of boggle, like, oh my goodness, imagine if all 4 of them drew.
Yeah,
That's a real.
they should organize mini tournament.
Yeah. Sell that to Saudi Arabia as well as the Super
Yeah,
Cup.
I will try.
But yes, but the other thing we need to talk about, as mentioned earlier on, down in 19th place, Fiorentina. It's a desperate situation. But I suppose the most confusing thing here. So losing 3-0 at Inter there's no shame to that. It's
No.
Inter, it's at home, but losing at home to relegation rivals Lecce is I don't want to say
Embarrassing.
unforgivable, but
Yeah.
it is embarrassing. But it's also troubling because this is no longer like a false position. We are, what was it, 10 matches in? You know, this is the league. Is it 11 matches? I forget. And yeah, there's no hiding it. Fiorentina are fighting for their lives in Serie A. And yet, we don't want managers to lose their jobs, but Stefano Pioli is still in charge. Do you think that's the right choice, considering the start of the season?
I've read an article this morning from La Gazzetta dello Sport, I think, about Pioli's situation, and they said that yesterday, during Lecce's win at Fiorentina, the fans were calling for his resignation, and we can only support them for the good of their club, of course. But the thing is that Pioli doesn't want to resign because he wants to live with some money because he has.
I mean, why would you?
Contract,
It's the impetus is on the owners, isn't it? To sort of say,
yeah,
that's enough. Thank you, but
and the question now is a question of ethic. Is it better to leave your job because you are bad and it's okay for the money, or do you want, even if the club is in trouble, big trouble, a critical situation, let's call it as it is, you will, it's not a problem for you if you just if they just pay your check. This is
I suppose
a
it's about.
question.
Do I remember right that Stefano Pioli used to play for Fiorentina?
Oh, maybe I don't have
It's in
the
the back of my head. I suppose I should probably say that without actually checking it. But there's something in the back of my head that said he was.
let me check that.
But
And
I
I
was
will.
about to make the point of, well, the thing is, he doesn't owe the fans anything, and of course, much like playing careers are relatively short, managerial careers can finish like that. If you have one bad job, you may not get another good one. So why would you say no to millions of euros as a payoff?
And you're right. Pioli played for Fiorentina from 1989 to 1995.
Oh wow! So
Yeah.
I shouldn't really know
So
that, should I? That's before.
yeah,
That's embarrassing about how old I
years
am.
young.
Yeah.
I
But
was
so,
I was not born.
yeah, but I suppose there's from a fan's perspective, considering they supported Pioli for years as a Fiorentina player.
Yeah.
As I said, perhaps there's the contrast of like loyalty and what does that mean in that context. But let's park Serie A there. Down at the bottom is Genoa on 3 points. We have Fiorentina on 4, Hellas Verona on 5, and Pisa on 6. And outside of the top 4, in 5th place is Bologna on 18 points. Juve are also on 18, just behind them, and Como just there on 17. So again, the race for the other European spots kind of really hotting up, especially with a team like Fiorentina and Lazio being so far down. There really is an opportunity for someone like Como.
Yeah, and we can also have a word for Udinese because they are in a good form. They ended Atalanta their first defeat of the season this weekend. So it's a good thing for them. Zaniolo's returned to form also because he scored 3
which
goals.
is great. Yeah, it's been a few years of him being quite average and forgotten, but
and
there was a moment that he
he
was brilliant. Like
he
4
was
years ago.
injured, then lacked of form.
Yeah, and then didn't Roma get rid of him and he went off to Turkey or something? And blah blah blah. Actually, thank you for reminding me. The last thing before we go, talk about Atalanta. So the first defeat of the season, and by all accounts, having a pretty decent season. They are 11th on 13 points, which we spoke about, I think, last week. Probably I spoke about every week because they are drawing. They've been drawing so many of the matches that they are undefeated. One loss, and suddenly it looks like a very underwhelming start to the season. Whereas just two more wins, and they would be ahead of Como. So it's really interesting how just so many draws have been that damaging to a team like Atalanta.
Yeah, you're right. And just to make a little update, because they are now playing against Genoa, and Genoa is leading against Sassuolo. So Atalanta are 10th now at the moment we talk. But yeah, you're right. It says a lot about the competition of the league, and it's funny to note that it's a league with quite a few draws because I took a look at the table, and five teams have already drawn five or more times since the start of the season, and they are just playing the 10th match day. So it's uh, just a
It's
lot.
interesting.
Yeah,
It's interesting, yeah. But I suppose but that's more of the Italian way of playing, isn't it?
yeah.
Sort of
I
defensive
remember.
solidity probably doesn't mean quite so many goals.
Yeah, I don't remember if it was last week or 2 weeks ago. They just scored 11 goals during the weekend. So of course a lot of
Yes,
draws.
that I think that you're right about that. Right, we should park that there before I get the kazoo out again. But let's go to France and Ligue 1. Another double header for you guys here. So all the matches played on Wednesday night. It was a really exciting Wednesday night, and they went like this: Le Havre beat Brest 1-0. Lorient drew astonishingly with Paris Saint-Germain. Relegation threatened Lorient 1, Paris Saint-Germain 1. Nice beats Lille 2-0. Again, Nice's good form continues. A couple of shocks to a report. Marseille drew 2-2 at home against Angers, with Kamara equalising for Angers in the 6th minute of stoppage time. Nantes 3, Monaco 5. Monaco's very confusing season continues with an astonishing victory at Nantes. A relegation threatened Nantes, but Monaco just like being forced to work for it. Lyon. Oh, we need to talk about this match. Lyon were winning 3-0 at Paris FC, and somehow it finished 3-3. Strasbourg beat Auxerre 3-0 after it was 0 at half time. Toulouse drew 2-2 with Rennes, and the biggest shock of the lot, Metz 2, Lens 0. That's right, bottom Metz, one of the worst sides in Europe, somehow mustered up a victory against Champions League chasing Lens. But that was midweek. And then on to the weekend, Paris Saint-Germain squeaked by Nice with a last-minute stoppage time winner from Ramos, 1-0 against Nice. Monaco, confusing still, lost at home to Paris FC 1-0. Marseille squeaked a 1-0 victory at Auxerre on Saturday as well. On Sunday, Rennes beat Strasbourg 4-1. Strasbourg really tripping up this week. Lens recovered from that Metz defeat by beating Lorient 3-0. Lille beat Angers 1-0. And then, my God, Metz away at Nantes, and they won 2-0. So 2 victories in a row for Metz against the relegation rivals. Toulouse drew 0-0 with Le Havre, and then a bit of a damp squib to end with Brest 0, Lyon 0. Right, so that's lots of information to throw at you. But let's start with the most implausible turn of form. Metz, the only side in France to win both of their games. Is that correct? Yes, I think so. Astonishing for Metz. But it wasn't like by chance. Like they actually pulled off an incredible performance against Lens.
Yeah.
So for the context of the game, it was 0-0 with 3 minutes of regular time to go. Hames scored from the penalty spots with 3 minutes to go. He then scored a second in the first minute of stoppage time, and a minute later he got sent off for a second yellow. So very incredible last 5 minutes for Hames. And that was against Lens. First of all, how did they beat Lens? Again, Lens have been, pretty decent this year, title chasing, Champions League position, and yet Metz beat them. How would it happen?
It was Metz played some games when they seemed really, really under their opponent, but against Metz, against Lens, sorry, they were very, very good. To be honest, they were dynamic, they were aggressive. They played like a. They didn't play like a team struggling into the relegation zone, and the 2 goals from scored from Gauthier are quite symbolic because he's kind of a child of the club in France. He's often talked like maybe the best League Two player, so the French second division, best League Two players in history, never really succeeding in the top flight. And then he scored twice, and he was red carded because he took off his shirt. So it was a great night for them, um, less great night for him. And when they, because they traveled to Nantes this weekend, we asked themselves if his absence could be difficult for Metz, and they finally managed to win two games in a row. So
against Nantes.
extraordinary.
So it
Yeah,
was much like Lens, where it was 0-0 with only a few minutes left of regular
yeah.
time. Against Nantes, it was 0-0 until the last 10 minutes. So
And for
again,
the yeah,
Metz keeping it tight until the last 10 minutes and then finding these goals.
and for the first time since the second match day, they have left the bottom of the table.
I think the most astonishing thing about this is that they've had 2 clean sheets in a row. Like only last week, you gave me that gorgeous
Yeah,
stat about how they had the worst defense in all the top 5 European leagues, and yet 2 clean sheets.
given the fact that their goalkeeper last week had a problem with his head, so he had to get off the pitch. So it was like, okay, they will have more problems than they got already with injuries problem. And finally, they surprised everyone. To be honest,
But now they are still in the relegation zone. However, talk about like these gaps creating. So, like, had they not done that, they would have been cut off so far from the bottom. But as it is, they're ahead of Auxerre by a point, and they are behind Lorient and Nantes by a single point as well. Let's go to the top of the table, the top of Ligue 1. So, no, none of the title chasers won both of their matches. What is really interesting is, say, for example, Paris Saint-Germain got 4 points from their games. Marseille got 4. Lens, Lille, Monaco, Strasbourg all got 3. It feels like a lot of these teams are really missing out on chances to catch Paris Saint-Germain and overtake them, because it's not as if they all played each other and took points of each other. The fact that Lille lost at Nice, which is is doable. Like, Nice are a decent form, but Lens losing at Metz is pretty bad. Monaco, I mean, they played Paris FC and Nantes, and and they only got
yeah.
3 points from that, and also had to really sweat for that against Nantes. It feels like a lot of these title rivals for Paris Saint-Germain basically just keep missing these opportunities.
Yeah, as you said, everyone dropped points this week. At some points, even PSG at Lorient. So it was the perfect opportunity for a team like Marseille, who wants to be second in the table and are ambitious to try to be at the top. And they didn't succeed, conceding a late equalizer against Angers at home. So it's a shame for them to have dropped those points, as it is for Lyon, for example, who were leading.
The
Yeah,
elephant in the room, I guess, because the biggest losers, we should say, of this week were Lyon, who, despite having very favourable matches at Paris FC and at Brest, so 2 away matches, but very,
yeah.
very winnable matches.
But I like to say that Lyon are really frustrated. Oh, it's so difficult to say. Frustra- no, frustrating team. Sorry. No, I'm not French. I'm not. No, yeah, they are, because each of the setbacks this season is filled with regrets. To be honest, they lost to Rennes, they lost to Toulouse, to Nice. They drew against Paris FC, Brest yesterday, and it's always the same thing, because I don't have the impression games where there are games where the opposition are dominating Lyon, but they still manage to scrap something out of it, and it's too many points dropped. We mentioned the
Expression in
games.
English, which I'm not sure if you're aware of, is snatching defeat from the jaws of victory, that kind of thing.
Oh, okay. So
it's like an anti one, so like
yeah,
snatching victory from but it's the other way around. It's very pessimistic. But yeah, so Lyon 3-0 up against Paris FC, half an hour left. I forget his name. Is it Aber? Aber?
Abner, yeah.
Yeah, got sent off, but still 3-0 up, completely in control. Half an hour left. And then Paris FC get a goal back. Then they have a man sent off. And so 10 men each. And yet somehow Lyon still let it slip away. I think the big question is, well, two questions. First of all, how did that happen? And secondly, whose fault is it?
In my opinion,
that is a capitulation.
Yeah, in my modest opinion, and I'm not a manager, of course, but I think the substitutions made by Paulo Fonseca in this game, and some more before that, are like too defensively minded, because Lyon were 3-1 up, 10 versus 10 men, and he made some defenders come in the on the field, replacing attackers and midfielders. So when you're 3-1 up, I don't think it's the good thing to do for a team, because it sends a message like, okay, the other team can score if they try to. So the message sent to the player, I don't think is good. But the players, of course, have their part of responsibilities because they are on the pitch. And yesterday in Brest, because it was a 0-0, but Lyon went 10 to 11 men for like 85 minutes, because Hans Attebourg, who joined the club as a medical joker a few weeks ago, was starting for the first time. And like 7 minutes after the start to the game, he was sent off. So there are always difficult scenarios for Lyon, and they drop points in these situations.
Points out that in the match against Brest, Hateboer got sent off in the 7th minute, so they had to play the entire match basically against Brest with 10 men. Last word on this before we move on. So, like, would you say, is it unfair to say that result against Brest is underwhelming, or did they actually do well to take a point away considering how badly it started?
No, I think Lyon were lucky to play against that Brest team, because they weren't really dangerous. They had one big occasion in the chances in the during the game. So yeah, it was kind of, because, for example, next week they will play against PSG. If they come to 10 man down against PSG, they will struggle at least.
Looking at the table, just to go through it. So again, Paris Saint-Germain are on 24, Marseille are on 22, Lens, despite the underwhelming week, well, I mean, it was 3 points. Third's also on 22, so still only 2 points behind Paris Saint-Germain. Then you've got Lille, Monaco, Lyon, all on 20, and then Strasbourg on 19. Yeah, it kind of goes back to the point of everybody is tripping up, including Paris Saint-Germain. But the difference is Paris Saint-Germain feels like they have another year to go, whereas everyone else, it seems to be a bit stretched.
Yeah, of course.
Right, in that case, let's move on from Ligue 1, and we're going to go to the Premier League. It's quite interesting because I need to post my article for the Premier League tomorrow morning. But I found like this week and sort of lacking in serious narrative content, to be honest. So there was no Friday fixture, no early Saturday. We'll go into Brighton beating Leeds United 3-0 at home. Diego Gomez with a couple, and Danny Welbeck aging like a fine wine, scoring another there. Arsenal, the march of Arsenal continues, 2-0 away at Burnley, another set-piece goal, but also a not set-piece goal. Ooh. Crystal Palace beat Brentford 2-0 in the battle of the long throws. Fulham beat Wolves 3-0, and we'll get into that in a minute. We'll talk about that game. Nottingham Forest 2, Manchester United 2. Great draw from Nottingham Forest in the relegation zone. Not a great loss for Spurs. Their home form is awful. Losing at home to Chelsea 1-0, but only registering one shot on target the whole match, I think it was. Liverpool 2, Aston Villa 0. Liverpool finally get another win. It sounded a bit like Arnold Schwarzenegger then. Sorry, finally. Then on Sunday, so West Ham United won 3-1 at home to Newcastle. That's right. They won at home as well. Manchester City beat Bournemouth 3-1 to put Bournemouth, the big pretenders, back in their place a little bit. And Sunderland and Everton are playing tonight. So, I mean, the first things first. Currently, Arsenal are 6 points clear at the top. They have only conceded 4 shots on target in their last 5 matches.
Yeah,
Not
this
goals,
is my stat
shots
of the
on
weekend.
target.
Please. This is my stat of the weekend. So
I'm sorry.
No, my stat is even more important.
Oh,
so
okay, we'll put a pin in that.
Yeah.
But that kind of underlines the fact that Arsenal are so secure. I mean, they also seem to be. It was mentioned on a podcast I listened to recently, the Totally Football Show. That they seem to really enjoy defending. So right at the death, Burnley had a free kick. Marcus Edwards hit the post, and then Gabriel heads it clear, gets fouled, and he celebrates the final. He celebrates the clean sheet as if he's just scored, which is, I mean, it's fantastic to see. But also, you can tell that the defensive side matters to this team, which it doesn't for every team.
Yeah, of course. So as you said, first it was a classic Arsenal win with a set piece goal, and this team is. I think that team is really good because they are very clinical in both boxes, which is important to win games. They score. I will not say they score a lot, but they know how to score, and most importantly, they know how to defend. If you look at their squad on a defensive aspect, it's impressive to compare the price they get players and whether these players are playing. It's a very, very, very good investment, in my opinion. If we, for example, just take the example of Mosquera, of Jurien Timber, they are today trademarks in Arsenal, and they didn't were bought for many millions, as some of us have been in the past years. So, real good scouting work. Targeting players were very good too. So we can.
Do you think it's the most important player for Arsenal? Because it does seem that a lot of Premier League sides have 1 or 2 players which are completely indispensable. And yet Arsenal seem to have pretty good cover in every position now, which is kind of has not been their thing for a long, long time. I suppose the only person I can probably think of that can't be replaced as such would be perhaps if they lost both Gabriel and Saliba, although they do have good centre backs.
I
But
think
perhaps
it's
Declan Rice.
Yeah, but I think Gabriel has reached.
Though, isn't he, in the
Yeah,
defence?
I think he has reached a level, an impressive level with Arsenal, more than Saliba. Even if
Saliba, hasn't it? Saliba's been the one that's been, because he seems to be the one that has the better recovery pace. He seems to be the more cultured defender with his passing ability, whereas Gabriel seems to be the one who really likes to defend.
Yeah, he inspires fear to his opponents, I think. And the thing is that we need to talk about the fact that Arsenal got some important players out, ruled out for injuries, and we don't see it when we watch them play, because they have a squad depth really imposing.
Well, Arsenal 25 points. Then you've got Manchester City on 19th, Liverpool on 18, Bournemouth on 18, Spurs, Chelsea, Sunderland, Man United all on 17, Crystal Palace on 16. So what we've got is currently 3 points separating second from ninth, which is brilliant. But it also speaks volumes about the fact that there seems to be like this chunk in the middle, and then again just one team at the top. But of course that can change, because Sunderland, if they win tonight, they go second.
Yeah,
I just can't believe.
What a season they have.
apart from anything else, I'm a Newcastle fan, so I shouldn't really be rooting for Sunderland. But it would just be so much better for the competition if all 3 promoted teams stayed up.
No one is listening to you, so you can say something positive about Sunderland.
That's such an insult saying, oh, it's all right, nobody's listening to you anyway. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so
sorry.
much
Yeah.
for taking time to film this. Like, no one's listening. Looking at the bottom of the table, so yes, Fulham 3, Wolves 0. So Fulham, I think, are off the back of 5 straight losses. And yet this was one of the easiest matches they'll ever play. Agbadou got sent off in the first half. In fact, very early on, wasn't it? It was a catastrophic performance from Wolves. And of course, not long after, Vitor Pereira was relieved of his duties. So I think it's quite interesting to note, first of all, that for only 5 weeks before, so literally 45 days before this match and Vitor Pereira getting fired, he was given a new 3-year contract. So I suppose the question is, why do you think they gave him the new contract, considering at the end of last season the results had tapered off, and clearly this season hasn't started well? So what do you think the thinking was in giving him the new contract, as opposed to saving themselves a couple of £1 million, for example?
Maybe to reassure the squad, but to be honest, from an external point of view, it feels like Wolves don't really know what they are doing, because, as you mentioned, they took the decision to extend Pereira's contract a few weeks ago, and it was already questionable. I remember we've talked about it. A lot of articles were made about it, and now they are firing him. So it seems logical, but it makes a lot less sense after he had extended this contract. So they are not making any progress. They still haven't
The
won.
reasons, again, sorry to interrupt, but I suppose one of the things
Yep.
that makes it even more confusing is that currently the favourite to replace him was the man he replaced, Gary O'Neill.
It's Gary O'Neill, yeah.
So again, it's sort of like this strange thinking of, okay, so if Gary O'Neill wasn't good enough to have the job before, but Vitor Pereira was, then you gave him a new contract, and suddenly he's not good enough, so you go back to the man who wasn't good enough before.
Yeah.
You'd think that the Wolves fans would be quite nervous, because none of this suggests long-term thinking. None of this suggests a plan. Yeah, it seems very confusing and muddled.
Yeah, I agree. And when you choose another manager, you need to think about, okay, my squad is composed with that kind of player. They can play in that system, so we need to think about a manager who can adapt to the squad and to the profile of the players we get. So if you take, I don't know, I'm not a Gary O'Neill expert, and I've read that he's not the only name on the Wolves shortlist, but you have to think about how your next manager will play with this squad before the winter transfer market, of course. So it's important for them to think, and given that they still haven't won a game, and they are already 5 points behind West Ham, who are 18th in the
behind
league.
West Ham, but
Yeah.
8 points behind safety. So they are 8 points away from getting out of the relegation zone. But it also, we say 8 points, but the goal difference is so bad, it is essentially 9. So that's like, essentially, you have to win 3 games just to catch up, and they haven't won any yet. So, I mean, this also goes back to what we're talking about, say, like Metz and Juventus, like trying to, like, it's just as well they won 2 games because it stops that gap. Wolves, not only do they have to win, but they have to put like out of nowhere, they have to build a run of games just to stay in the talk of survival, because currently they are so far adrift.
Yeah, you're right. And it would be, to be honest, it will be difficult. And it's been, I think, if I'm not saying something wrong, it's been like 2-3 years that we talk about the fact that they could be relegated at the end of the season, and now
to support your point, last season Wolves actually didn't win any of their first 2 matches then, which is the first time in English history that a team has failed to win either, like, the first 10 of their matches in successive seasons. But the big difference was, even though they hadn't won in 10 matches, there were 3 teams, the promoted teams, who were so much worse than them, and now there isn't.
Yeah, because we've mentioned Sunderland, we are seventh today, but um, also Burnley and Leeds are not in the relegation zone. So it's difficult for the Premier League clubs. We have seen it with Forest and all the thing concerning the management. West Ham are also struggling. So yeah, Wolves have to make a good decision, because if they don't, I think it will be too late for them to bounce back.
Oh, and a quick word on West Ham, because first of all, Newcastle were awful in this match, like inexplicably bad. But West Ham, like, not to take away credit from West Ham, but it did seem like that Newcastle was so bad they made West Ham look good potentially. But had West Ham not won today, I mean, they started the day only 2 points ahead of Wolves. So West Ham are facing the exact same thing, that huge gap between them and safety. But they managed to somehow find the win. So really important, not only for the relegation battle, but also for Nuno Espirito Santo, who obviously new manager, not having a win under his belt.
Yeah,
It's amazing what one win can do.
yeah, and we have said it before in the previous shows, but West Ham, I don't think they are a team that, given their roster, should be so low in the standings. And from what I saw yesterday of their games against Newcastle, this is a team that hasn't given up on its coach. I don't know what you think about it, but the reaction after going 1-0 down was good, and maybe this could be the start of something for them, because yeah, it was interesting, and they would be very well advised to beat Burnley next weekend, because I took a look at their schedule, and they will face Bournemouth, Liverpool, Manchester United, Brighton, Aston Villa, and then Manchester City. So they will need to win these
In
games.
December.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a busy. Oh, that's difficult. My goodness. So yeah, you need points now. Otherwise, where are you going to get them from?
Yeah.
Let's part the Premier League there. Let's go to La Liga. La Liga. A couple of really fun results here to talk about. On Friday, Getafe defeated Girona 2-1. Everybody defeats Girona. On Saturday, Villarreal, who really are having an excellent season, beat Rayo Vallecano 4-0. Atletico beat Sevilla 3-0. A precious precious win for Real Sociedad in the Basque Derby, winning 3-2 at home to Athletic Club, with an injury time winner from a name, I'll be honest, I'm not even going to try and pronounce. There's an X in there. Real Madrid 4, Valencia 0. Real Madrid doing Real Madrid things. Another couple of goals from Mbappe, Bellingham, Carres. On Sunday, 2 wins in a row for Celta Vigo. Babao winning 2-1 at Levante. Also a stoppage time winner for them. Alaves beats the Informe Espanyol 2-1 at home. Barcelona beat Elche 3-1 at home. Goals from Yamal, Ferran Torres, and Marcus Rashford. Real Betis beat Mallorca last night 3-0. And Real Oviedo Osasuna is playing tonight. So let's sort of first of all talk about, you put the 2 championship. What would you like to expand what that means on today on the running order?
Yeah, because if you take a look at the table, you can see that from Real Madrid, who were first in the league, to maybe Getafe or even Alaves, were 7th and 8th. They are 15 points, but this is the run for the European Cups. And then if you just go back, go at the end of the table, you can see that between Girona and, let's say, Real Sociedad, so 17 teams, there are only 5 points between them. So it's like some are playing the European Championship and the other ones are playing the relegation championship.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've said this a few times today, but this is one of the really
Yeah.
interesting. When you get to this point in the season where you've got 10, 11 matches in, it's a quarter of the season is now gone. And there are several metrics that have proven that essentially there's not that much change at that point of the season. There's some minor, like a couple of change position shifts here and there, but essentially roughly finish around the 2 or 3 positions that you're currently in after the 10 match point. But what you do see, as we discussed before, is these little gaps starting to grow, and then you get these little pockets. So these are the teams challenging for the title. These are the teams challenging for European places. This is the relegation battle. And then you've got these strange middle points. So as you're saying, so at the bottom of the table, Osasuna on 10 points, and then 6 places below them, Girona on 7. So as awful as Girona have been, they do have a way out. At like 4 points in 2 matches, and they might be way away from the relegation zone. Well, or quite literally out of us rather than points. But yeah, so 3 points separating the bottom 6. You've got 3 points separating 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, and yet there's a 5-point gap at the top. And a 6-point gap between Betis and Barcelona in second. So you've got you've got the top 4. Well, you've got the top 1, and then you've got the rest of the top 4.
Yeah.
And then you've got the rest of the European chasers, and then you've got like 2 or 3 teams in the middle, which really aren't that many people, like Sevilla, like for example. But then you've got the huge relegation thing. So yeah, so now you're getting all these little pockets of like, right, that's what the aim is for the season. This is what you're aiming for. This is your challenge.
Yeah, and if you look at the results and the table, you can see that everyone or almost everyone from the top part of the table won this weekend, while everyone or almost everyone at the bottom lose this weekend. So it permits to illustrate this idea, but I still think that the big good news of the weekend was Real Sociedad securing a second consecutive victory. Yeah, doing it in a derby in this context, because they scored in the 96th minute of stoppage time. Yeah, it's just bonus for a squad. But the thing, for example, we can also have a word on about Bilbao, because they had a great start to the season. They won 3 games in a row, and they are now in big trouble. They only have won 2 games in their last 10 games, and they are a team that is struggling to score goals.
And this is a team that relies on some form of European football to help, because obviously with the way that their recruitment works and how their transfer model operates, they do need some additional financing, so to speak, and you usually get that with some form of European competition. It looks like that is going to be a bit of a stretch, and somehow they managed to persuade Nico Williams to stay last summer.
Yeah,
so
and he's suffering a pubalgia, like Lamine Yamal has, and with Franco Mastantuono from Real Madrid also. So it's quite unusual to have that much player injured with that injury.
So yeah, it's quite strange. Like you say, it's quite a strange one, because all the big teams won, all the relegation threatened teams lost, more or less. So yeah, it's kind of like the opposite of Ligue 1. There was sort of like no real shocks. But what it has done is really support the top 4. Real Madrid, I'd say about a month ago, we were talking about how they didn't look like they were clicking, but they were still winning. So this is 11 matches, and they've won 10 of them. But it does seem in the last couple of weeks that they have really stepped into a new kind of a new rhythm, and starting the understanding of each other and the system of the manager. And that also coincided with the El Clasico, obviously defeating Barcelona as well. But it does seem that they are now, we say in England, the purring.
Yeah, but I think it's easier to do so with Mbappe, who just can't stop scoring goals, because every game you watch from Real Madrid, you are assured to watch 1 or 2 goals from Kylian Mbappe. So of course, with a striker to his quality, it's easier to win games. We can also note that Jude Bellingham scored again after his Clasico goal. So everything is going well for Real Madrid.
Suppose because it's 5 points, but Barcelona are sort of still hanging in there, as are Villarreal, to be quite frankly, although only 1 point ahead of Atletico. What is what do you think is the biggest threat to Real Madrid losing this? Because they do seem to be the most sort of put together side currently. What do you think is the biggest threat to Real Madrid winning this title? Not team wise, but like, do you think it'll be like their defense? Is it the squad depth? Is it what?
Yeah, maybe we can talk about apart from the squad depth, and we will need to, because we can't see it now, but we will need to analyze the impact of the Club World Cup on organisms of players, because if Real Madrid go, and I think they will go through to the quarterfinal or semi-final of the Champions League, they will have to play a lot of games. They will have to travel away. If they maybe will go to the top 4 in the Copa del Rey, they will go to Saudi Arabia. It will be interesting to see how the physical conditions of their players is going.
Okay, let's have a quick word before we finish. Quick word on the Bundesliga. For anybody who wonders why we leave the Bundesliga to last at the minute, it's because basically every single week is the same kind of story. We have Bayern winning for the 15th match in a row in all competitions this season, which I forget what year that breaks the record of, but it's astonishing, 15 in a row. And so on Friday, Augsburg lost at home to Borussia Dortmund, with Girassi getting the only goal there. On Saturday, Heidenheim drew with Frankfurt 1-1, as did Mainz and Werder Bremen 1-1. Leipzig, a really impressive victory against Stuttgart, actually 3-1. Perhaps the biggest news of the weekend, Borussia Mönchengladbach. Not only did they win, not only did they register a clean sheet, but they won 4-0 at St. Pauli. That came out of absolutely nowhere. They're off the bottom of the table as a result. Union Berlin drew 0-0 with Freiburg. Bayern Munich won 3-0 at home to Bayer Leverkusen. Goals from Serge Gnabry, Nicholas Jackson, Bade's own goal. Harry Kane was rested. He wasn't even didn't get on the bench, and yet they still won 3-0. And then on Sunday, Köln beat Hamburg 4-1, and Wolfsburg lost at home 3-2 to Hoffenheim. So buying things. Essentially, this is why it's such a sort of thing to talk about the Bundesliga. I suppose the most impressive thing, really impressive win for Leipzig over Stuttgart, because Stuttgart were only a point behind Leipzig before the start of this game. But Leipzig, yeah, they were really impressive in this victory.
Yeah, and they continue their momentum, because they have just lost 1 game since this season so far, against Bayern Munich during the first match day. And Leipzig are a team where young recruits, because we previously said that their transfer window, as it's often the case, but they were targeting young players, such as Yan Diomande, for example, who scored this weekend and provoked an own goal. So they have managed to integrate the young players with more experienced players who possess we can call it the RB Leipzig DNA, such as Gulacsi, for example, who has been there for decades now. And this is obviously easier for them because they have only 1 game in a week during the week, so it's easier to put everything together.
Interesting, because Bayern, despite winning 9 out of 9, they are 5 points ahead of Leipzig in second place, which is the same gap for Real Madrid and Barcelona, who have played a game more, 2 games more. So it's just quite interesting how we see these gaps, actually, because Arsenal is 6 points ahead, Real Madrid are 5 points ahead, Bayern are 5 points ahead. So depending on the team or the league, it seems like, for example, Real Madrid, it's 5 points, but it's still Barcelona right behind them. And yet Arsenal and Bayern, it's like, oh, we just assume that they're going to run away with it. So Bayern on 27, Leipzig on 22, Dortmund on 20 points. Another 1-0 victory. They're really sort of squeezing a lot of those out at the minute. And then Stuttgart on 18, who have so far had 0 draws this season. So 6 wins and 3 losses.
Yeah.
And Bayer Leverkusen on 17. Right. Before we go, we've got Arteta's tops and flops, and then the stats of the week, which I'm currently trying to find on my phone. It's not just one I'm looking away. So would you like to say what your tops and flops are?
Personally, my flops are obviously Lyon because of the difficult week they had, and losing 3 points after having led 3-0 upon a promoted team is difficult to apprehend. So yeah, Lyon are my personal flop of the week. And if I have to say a top, to give a top, I would maybe give it to Inter, because Inter Milano, because we have talked about AC Milan beating Roma and Napoli, but which is interesting with Inter is that they have already scored 24 goals, so it's a lot in Serie A, especially in Serie A, and they got a plus 12 difference goal difference, so it will be very important when decided who will be champion at the end of the season. So yeah, they're my top of the. And given the fact that they changed manager this summer from Inzaghi to Chivu, so I remember that when we talked about the Club World Cup this summer, we questioned their decision to replace Inzaghi with Chivu. So it's interesting to see.
I'd go for flop either, Lyon or maybe Atalanta, to be honest. Again, because we've had these 2 leagues with 2 matches this week. Atalanta only getting 1 point, although it was a good point against AC Milan, but also just kind of the loss at Udinese kind of puts into context just how, there's so many draws and suddenly they're 11th, and actually, So it's not just for this week, but it's also just, again, it's the context of what one defeat does to all the draws.
Of course.
Or the lack of wins, rather. But the top, surely it's Metz. Out of absolute nowhere, Metz.
Yeah,
2 clean sheets, 2 victories. Unbelievable stuff. In that case, what's your stat of the week to end things before we go?
Yeah, you were talking about Arsenal defense earlier today. I will point out that Arsenal only conceded 1 shot on target in Premier League in October, and I do think it's crazy. I do think it's a crazy stat. It's not like they were playing against amateur teams or players. They're playing against professional players, professional teams.
This feels like very sort of mid-90s AC Milan victories, so like defensively just impossible.
Yeah, and I think the only shot on target was a header just like 3 centimeters from Raya. So the forward touched the ball with the head, and Raya just took it like that. So I want to give respect, pay some respect, and pay tribute to Arsenal, because
it is astonishing. And also, like how sorry, it's like I say, it's the fun of defending. Again, it's making defending fun.
Yeah.
In that case, let's end with a question for you, which is my stat of the week. So it might be one you've actually know, because it's quite a popular one that's made the rounds. Manchester City, their top goal scorer this season. Yes, you could probably guess that.
I don't know. Maybe Erling Haaland?
Yes. Haaland in the Premier League has 13 goals in just 10 matches. Wow. But here's your question. Who is second? Who's the top goal scorer, second top goal scorer for Manchester City in the Premier League?
Erling Haaland's son? Maybe. I don't know. No. Who can be? Oh, yeah. Was it Maxime Esteve from an own goal against Burnley? He scored twice with Burnley. Yeah, that's I remember this one.
So it's kind of amazing, isn't it? Because Haaland is 13, and then you've got Reinders, O'Reilly, Foden, Nunez, and Cherky all on 1 goal.
Yeah.
So it's that thing now. Like if you could stop Haaland scoring, you stop Manchester City, which is quite a strange thing to say. But yeah, no one else has contributed goals. So yes, the 2 own goals are currently second place, which is a fun one. Right, let's end it there. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody, for the European Soccer Show once again. And as ever, please look at our delicious social medias down there, which Leo has put together, the X and the YouTube and all the other social medias where you want to fill your boots. Go and do that. Thank you so much for joining us, Leo.
Thanks, Daniel. Thanks, everyone.
We will see you all next week after more nonsense, I'm sure. But yeah, until then, have a great old week. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.